Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Fair Sports for today's Six Nations Round 5 review. A very interesting weekend, and more importantly, the competition, whilst the last final weekend was over, it is still alive because there is obviously another match next weekend, Friday the 26th of March, Scotland versus France, which will decide the entire Six Nations outcome, which is really, really cool and speaks to how close the tournament's actually been between Wales and France. The fact that it literally will come down to the last game of the entire tournament. And this situation, so after round 5, we had the following results. 52-10, Scotland versus Italy. Scotland absolutely decimating Italy. A very good performance by Scotland. A lot of Scottish players continuously putting their hands up for selection for the British and Irish Lions. And the Italians, well, Franco Smith had his head buried in his hands for good reason, because it's a side which he's placed a lot of faith in, tried to really get going, and they just haven't paid him back yet. Hasn't paid back that trust. They sometimes show glimpses of a little bit of promise, and they have some good individual moments, but overall they are just not nearly as good as they need to be to compete at this level. After that, we saw a brilliant performance by Ireland as they beat England 32-18, England scoring a consolation try right at the end to sort of flatten the scoreboard, but it was an absolutely immense performance by Ireland. Really did look like the Ireland of old. You know, they were just tactically really clever. They outsmarted the English. They dominated won the small battles. Their scrum operated really, really well, and they just choked England. Didn't allow England to get into the game at all. It was a very, very impressive performance by Ireland. And then we had France beating Wales 32-30 in an absolute scorcher of an encounter. Before we look at the log, continue and sort of see how it will play out, please do subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video as well. Let me know what you thought of the weekend down in the comments below. I thought it was a fantastic weekend of rugby throughout. I thought last weekend I was really impressed with the standard rugby we saw in the England versus France game, 23-20 that time to England. And we looked at it and we thought, this is test match quality. It's taken about 6-7 months since we sort of had the return of rugby last year. We are now seeing proper test match rugby at the sort of quality and level that we come to expect. The rugby, the professional game has become so good in terms of the athleticism on display, the skills on display. Lots of sort of talk about the physicality being taken out of the game because of this change in sort of refereeing and those sort of decision making. But at the end of the day, I think the brand of rugby and what rugby players can now do. You watched over the weekend, and you have props, with little offload and chicken wing passes, and playing inside the shoulder and pops off the ground, stuff like that. The athleticism we're seeing in some of the players is ridiculous. How you're seeing, props you can, chase down backline players and stuff like that. It's a whole different game to what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I thought yesterday was another fantastic display of really, really good rugby. So if we look at the Scotland and France game, I thought, unfortunately, Scotland Italy game. Italy just they're just so far off, aren't they? And there's a lot of calls about should they be included in the side. And the biggest issue is that they then go and beat Georgia. But I thought throughout the Six Nations, I've been the most impressed. I've been very impressed with Scotland. I think it is a much better Scottish side than what we're used to seeing, which is coming off a low base, as one of the people commented on one of the videos. But it's a Scottish side with some exciting players. I think Stuart Hogg, Duran van der Merwe, Hamish Watson. There are some really good players in that Scottish side. And then we saw Ireland versus England, a really good game, and some very big performances by Ireland. I thought Robbie Henshaw, for me, has got to be a starting player in that Welsh side. He is playing absolutely unbelievable rugby. I thought Johnny Sexton looked really good. Tad Byrne looked really good. CJ Sanders' last game, so it was a bit of an emotional one for them. And then probably one of the best Six Nations games I've ever watched in France versus Wales. It was just an absolute nail-biting encounter. And look, there's quite a lot of conversations going on about the officiating. What I did quite like last night was how good the communication was with the officials. Whether officials make good calls or bad calls, the biggest thing for me is when there's ambiguity and when you don't quite know what's going on. And there was a really good path of communication between Luke Pearce and Wayne Barnes yesterday. And I thought that part, even if you didn't agree with the call, you could see the process from beginning to end. This is what they're doing. This is how they're checking. This is the justification. They're going through the laws. For somebody who's if somebody's trying to learn the game, for example, you can watch the game and understand, so there's a penalty because of this, and it's a yellow card because of this, because I thought the explanations were very good. But in terms of how the entire weekend shapes up, the log, that is how the log currently looks. Wales are currently on top, 20 points. Ireland finish on 15 points. France are on 15 points with a game to play, and Scotland on 11 points with a game to play. So Scotland, if they were to beat France, could finish second, actually, if they were to win with a bonus point. And they've got a decent points difference. So even if they weren't to win with the bonus point, they were to deny France a bonus point and score, well, pretty much, yeah. If they were to deny France a bonus point, they would finish, enough points to probably put them into second. So Scotland could go to second, and they would have deserved that second if they were to beat France. But it all comes down to, most people are backing France to beat Scotland. You can understand. I do think that France will beat Scotland, but I don't think Scotland is as easy to beat as a lot of people are saying. Because this is the situation. If France are to win the Six Nations, they've got to catch up that 20-point difference there. So they need to score. First of all, they need to get a bonus point. They have to get a bonus point win. So it has to be 5 points. If it's not a 5-pointer, they finish on 19. That's them done. After getting the bonus point, after getting those 4 tries, they either have to win by 21 points or more, or else they have to score 6 tries. Now, look, 6 tries goes a long way in trying to beat a side by 21 points or more. But what I'm saying is that if it were to be this unbelievable try fest and finish like 35-40, for example, and France scored 6 tries, that would actually be enough for them to win the Six Nations if they were to win that game. Because the rule of the table is that it goes points, after that's points difference, and if the points difference is the same, so if they were to finish for on the 20 points, if they were to score 20 points, for example, then they're going to go to tries scored across the competition. So if they finish within 20 points, it goes down to tries, and Wales have got, I think it's like 3 more tries at the moment than Scotland do. Than France do. But so the basic thing is 21 points. 21 points is what they're sort of going to be targeting. I think it's very unlikely that the try rule will come in, but that is the situation if it does. So a bonus point win and a margin of 21 points. That's what France need to do to try and win the Six Nations next weekend. And it does set up a really, really good end of it. So, it's been a fantastic championship. And I think the big thing for me is it becomes very interesting for Welsh selection when you look at England there, who could finish. If Scotland were to beat France, England would be fifth by quite a long margin and very far away from their British counterparts. And it becomes quite difficult to say, right, well, England won Six Nations last year, so they've got them going for them. But, if Scotland win and they finish on 15 points, you've got England who are 5 points behind the next British side. It becomes difficult to justify picking like half an English side for the British and Irish Lions. I think Scotland are a side where a lot more players are going to be pushing for selection. You've got to look at Duan van der Merwe, Hamish Watson, Finn Russell, Stuart Hogg. There are a lot of really good Scottish players who are putting their hands up for selection. Equally so, a lot of Irish players. I think somebody like Jameson Gibson-Park. I think he's actually had a really good campaign and really started pushing for the Wales side. So I think England players are probably on quite a lot of pressure in terms of Welsh selection. So that's how the table looks. We will be doing a live watch along for Scotland versus France on Friday, so make sure you come and hang out with us during that. We'll obviously also have previews, reviews, and the work as we cover the last couple of days of the Six Nations. It's been a really good championship. Even without fans, it's probably been as good as we could get in the current circumstances. Please smash a like on the video if you are new. Subscribe to the channel as well. Drop in the comments, let me know what you think is going to happen. Give me your score predictions or what you think is going to be the outcome on Friday night. My name is Stephen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.